Okay, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Perceptionist Playbook podcast. Welcome back, guys. We're back again with another episode. And I hope you've been enjoying the episodes, guys. I really hope you have. I hope you've enjoyed getting to know me, getting to know my brand, understanding why I started a podcast, and just learning and growing with me. I'm excited to put out these episodes because I just feel like they are kind of like an expression or an expression of myself, an expression of my passion, and I'm really excited to talk about my passion, why I am the way that I am, why I do the things that I do, and I hope you guys are just as excited as I am to learn about these things with me. So let's delve into today's episode. So today's episode, we're going to talk about how to become a UX UI designer. So I know that you've already learned all about my brand, you've already learned about my journey, how I got my job, you've already probably heard the frequently asked questions. Today we're going to talk about how to become a UX UI designer, because I feel like it's kind of a long conversation, and a question came up about this in my frequently asked questions episode, but I really wanted to dedicate an entire episode to this specific topic, because I felt like at the end of the day, a lot of people may not be aware, and somebody might come here as their first stop in terms of their your process in researching UX UI design in the industry. So why not give you all the information you need at this one-stop shop? Let's get started. First of all, I'd like to remind you guys that I am a UX UI designer, but I'm new here, so I do not have all the answers, okay? Contrary to popular opinion, I am not Sway, and I do not have all the answers. So definitely take my advice with a pinch of salt and still do your own research and identify what will potentially work best for you. So yes, how to become a UX UI designer. So the standard methods of becoming a UX UI designer are as follows. The first option is to teach yourself. So we have the self-taught route, and the self-taught route is kind of like for God's strongest soldiers, because you guys know that no matter what, I'm getting there. I'm getting to my end goal. I can be consistent. I can do what I need to do to get myself to that end goal. I am not amongst that community, unfortunately. I'm amongst the procrastinators. I'm amongst those that need support if I really want to get something done. And so a bootcamp was the option that I went with, which is another option for you. So the first is self-taught. The second is a bootcamp. The next option is university. So there are actually university degrees on design. So you can do UX UI design as a course, product design as a course, and also internship. So you can actually do an internship and you can be a UX UI designer through an internship. Those are the 4 methods of getting into UX UI design that I am aware of. Now there might be other methods, but this is the one that I am aware of. And obviously you have the small few who are able to pivot within their company, because a role opens up and their company kind of fosters an inclusive or a workspace that encourages their employees to move from industry to industry within the company. So you have that option as well, but it's really rare, and sometimes that's how people get into the industry too, just by having access to the information within their existing role. So those are all the options. And now I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of all of these options. So the pros and cons, I will definitely say the bootcamp route is like my top, would highly recommend option. I just feel like it gives you insight. It gives you everything that you need without having to pay university fees, or without having to, pay somebody an extortionist amount of money to get there. And yeah, I feel like it's even more beneficial than universities, but simply because you kind of, or you should get employment opportunities at the end of it, and it's not in such a long span of time. Like, you can learn. I learned how to be a UX UI designer from absolutely no knowledge at all to about mid-level skill in 3 months with a boot camp, the Love Circular boot camp. So I would definitely say that doing a boot camp is probably the easiest and the best way just to get yourself sorted out. If you have like a tight deadline, or you'd ideally want to be in the industry quite quickly, I wouldn't really recommend being self-taught. I do know people that have been self-taught, and I 100% support those of you who are self-taught designers. But people who are like me, if you see yourself in me, self-taught is a terrible idea for us, simply because it's hard to stay consistent. You have to make sure that there's no gaps in your knowledge, and you have to make sure that you're aware of you're learning everything that you need to learn to be able to do the role quite well, which is kind of difficult when you are literally learning about the role as you go along. But there are things like, Google that have a UX UI design course, and Black Girls in Tech, Love Circular, all of these people that have like little courses that you can do. So yeah, that's also very helpful. University, oh my goodness. Now, if you've watched my previous episode, you're very aware of the fact that I absolutely positively hate university. I hated being in university. I'd give it a solid -2 out of 10. Would not recommend to anybody at any time, no matter your industry. Maybe find a different industry if it requires you to go to university. But yeah, I didn't enjoy university, and it wasn't something that I would willingly put my head in again, ever. So if I've always said, like, if I was to ever say that I'm going back to university, guys, see that as the cry for help that it is, because I don't want to go back there. Like, it was the ghetto, it was the trenches, and so I wouldn't recommend universities to anybody, because I just feel like there's easier ways. It's not worth the debt, the stress, the financial strain, the emotional strain, the mental health issues that come with university. It's just not worth it to me, especially when there's easier, quicker, more efficient and proven to be successful routes. Why succumb yourself to such torture? No, guys, university would not recommend. If you want to do the university route though, go ahead, do you, girl, do you, boo, do what makes you happy at the end of the day. But I just personally would not recommend it. So internships. Now, I've known people that have done internships, and funnily enough, I believe my previous manager, who when I was at the company was a design director, he started out as an intern in that same company. So, and you can see his trajectory was very favorable and very ideal. So yeah, these are the different pros and cons that I would say are available for each of these. Now, with the internships, at my previous role, I was the only full-time UX UI designer on the team, and then there was a design director who was also my manager, who is the person that I've just mentioned, that started out as an intern in the company. And there was this government scheme, which unfortunately I can't remember the name of, and the government was essentially giving companies money to hire interns, like a grant or something to hire interns, and these interns had the opportunity to see what life as a UX UI designer would be like. And so yeah, I worked with 2 interns. Shout out to you guys. They were really, really lovely, and I really enjoyed working with both of them. what I will say is, for my company specifically, it was a very small company. There was probably about 10 people in the UK office, and then they had an office in India as well that was much larger, but it was a really small company, kind of functioned as a startup, but it was not a startup. And I know, guys, I promise you, I know the horror stories that come from being working at a startup. I know them, and fortunately, can't relate. The company that I worked at functioned as a startup just because it was really, really small. But however, it was an amazing company to work at. It was definitely exactly what I needed to progress in my career and propel forwards. So yeah, in terms of an internship, I would definitely say that the ladies that interned with me at the company I was working at, they were doing the exact same thing as me. I think the second lady, she did say that she didn't feel like she was doing enough design work. She felt like she was actually doing a lot of like filler work, so like creating logos or resizing images, or, you know, I don't know, making changes to already an existing screen or something like that. She just felt essentially like they weren't really using her skills as much as they should have. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but that's the long and short of it. And but the previous one, she was doing the exact same thing. So I was shocked to hear that she felt that way, because with the previous intern, she was doing the exact same work as me. And the only difference is I was on a full-time salary and she was an intern. That was it. So I would say, if you want to really like get a true feel of the industry and like identify if it's kind of what you want to do or if it's the route that you want to go down, I definitely say an internship is great. The only problem is, you know, it's 2023 and we have something called a COSI live, and that's a cost of living crisis, ladies and gentlemen. And so I'm very aware of the fact that being an intern is just not really sustainable. Like in the long term, you know, granted, they did intern for a few months. I want to say 6 months. It wasn't long. It was a few months, definitely under a year. They were interning, and it was about four to 6 months. And I just felt like, yeah, interning is great, but if you want something more permanent with stable income, may not be for you. It may not be the best option for you. But being an intern doesn't always necessarily mean you won't do nothing and you won't get the full experience. Depending on where you go to, you do get the full experience. And sometimes it's even to the point of frustration where it's like, I'm interning and I'm doing all the work she's doing and she's a full-time worker. Like, what? Nah, mate. But yeah, they both were doing it part-time. It was a part-time internship. So it was like 3 days a week and 2 days off. So that would be a great opportunity for you to kind of get like another job. So you work full-time on the two days or weekends as well. And then just do the part-time internship. And even when the first girl, I can't really say for sure about, you know, the second intern, but when the first intern finished her internship, the CEO helped her get a job elsewhere because she wasn't in London. He knew someone that was hiring in her area, and so she ended up going to work with the person that was hiring in her area, which is very helpful, which is what you want at the end of the day. Like, you don't want to do an internship where at the end of it you just so long see your sucker. Like, no, what do I get from this? Like, are y'all gonna help me out or what? Like, yeah. So I would definitely say, you know, make sure that that's something that you discuss during the process of, you know, being onboarded onto an internship program. You want to make sure that it is something that you're very much gonna get a job out of at the end of it, you know. So yeah, that's my advice for people who are going down that route as well. Let me see. The route that I chose. So the route that I chose was to be a UX UI designer through a boot camp. Now this boot camp, 10 out of 10. I would recommend a boot camp just because I did a boot camp and I loved it, and I can only speak for something that I have physical experience in. But doing a boot camp was really, really helpful in identifying exactly what my life in this industry was going to look like, and also making sure that my interests aligned with what I was about to go and do. And I felt like because my interests aligned so much with the role or the expectation of a UX UI designer, interviews were very enjoyable for me, because I was just kind of almost more talking about myself, my personality, my interests, rather than just talking about my job and why I want the job. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's very helpful in that respect as well. I would definitely say that doing a boot camp is quick, efficient, and just a lot of a smooth process compared to university and internship or being self-taught. I also love the community aspect and the fact that at the end of it all, you were able to, or I was able to, have access to the alumni. So people who have already been through the course and people who were going through the course as well at the same time, had access to the CEO, who was always on hand to answer questions. I'm sure he's a super busy guy, but he was also always so willing and always so responsive in, the different Slack channels that we were on. And it was really helpful because we'd have like events where, we'd do design sprints, design sessions where you'd all be on Zoom and just be designing, and it just helps you stay compatible. No, it helps you stay consistent. It helps you stay consistent for sure. So yeah, I really, really love to do the boot camp. I would recommend a boot camp. Like I said, it's just easier. It's just easier. I just don't think there's an easier way to get into this industry except a boot camp. It's definitely the easiest way. May not be the cheapest, but it is the easiest way to do it. Yeah. So that's what I would say about that. And if you want if you have some more questions, or you'd like some more advice on how to become a UX UI designer, definitely leave me a question, either on my Instagram or via DMs, or on my posts. Just leave a comment on Instagram or YouTube, or send me an email at theperceptionistplaybook@gmail.com, and I will definitely reach out to you as well. Please note, guys, I'm a little bit of a slow replier, but I'll always get back to you, 100%. I will get back to you. Just may take me about 3 weeks. But yeah, I'll always get back to you. And yes, that is today's episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. It was nice and short and sweet compared to the other episodes, but I just wanted to be concise, to the point, and constructive, and helpful. So if you found that helpful, definitely let me know. And if there's anything that you feel like I missed out, or that you need to ask, definitely ask. Ask away. I am an open book, and I'm always happy to help. So ask away. Okay? Yeah, I think that's everything. Just always remember, guys, as we say on this show, that your diversity is your strength. Okay? Have a lovely day, week, month, year, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Perceptionist Playbook podcast. Bye.